So these two newfies are out hunting, as newfies will do, and they're almost, in the middle of nowhere, an hour outside of anything close to civilization, and that's civilization by newfie standards. One guy just drops. And his buddy, turns around and goes down, and he's not like a doctor or anything, but he's looking for a pulse, and he doesn't feel anything. He's feeling his arm, and he's putting his head against, the mouth and seeing if anything comes up, and he quickly gets out his phone, calls 911, and he says, we're out hunting, and my friend, he just dropped dead. I don't know what to do. And the voice on the other end, very calm, said, okay, sir, well, let's first make sure your friend is dead. And there's a pause, and then you hear, BAM! Okay, now what do I do?
Those newfies, eh? Real bunch of hosers, eh?
Oh, thank God Canadians are still somebody we can make fun of.
Yeah. Hosers, eh?
Hey. Welcome to Carnival Personnel. I'm Jacques.
I'm Joe, eh?
You're Joe A?
Joe A.
Well, that's how they came up with the country of Canada. They weren't sure what to call it. They had all the letters in a bag, and the person who was drawing them out, it's like CA, DA. There you go. I blew that. But
that's all right. I'm in a little bit of a Rick Moranis mode because he's in the news lately.
Finally. It's been how many years since he retired?
Early 90s, mid 90s, right?
And just because
no, his wife died of cancer. So
he had kids.
And he had two kids, and he wanted to raise two young kids, so he wanted to raise his kids. I think they're two. They were two. I think the number of kids he had was two. Anyway, long story short, too late. He's back in the news now because he voiced over a cameo appearance of Dark Helmet in the latest Spaceballs episode of The Goldbergs. So that was great. Basically the plot is that Adam Goldberg has a dream that Dark Helmet comes to him. They have a Schwartz fight, and then out of Dark Helmet's cape falls a script for Spaceballs 2. And he's like, what's this? Oh, it's just the stupid script I was working on. It's stupid. Do you want me to act it out for you? And then he acts it out. And it's really great and cute, and it's awesome. And then the other thing about Rick Moranis that's in the news is apparently he's going to be joining the rest of the surviving cast of SCTV for the Netflix special on the reunion for SCTV that's coming out next year.
You were too young to see that, right?
Yeah, I could have watched it in reruns. Yeah, but I wasn't a Canadian. And
but it aired here, and I want to say, I don't know if it was Channel 56.
I think you're right. I do remember seeing commercials for SCTV as a little kid.
And so you were a little kid. I'm 10, 11.
Early 80s.
Yeah, I'm 11, 12 when it came on. And I just remembered, the thing that I remember the most is, if I would turn on TV or just be flipping through, and part of their opening credits with people throwing TVs out, windows. And I just thought, as 11, 12-year-olds, it's that is the coolest thing ever.
That's what people do on Craigslist now.
Right.
This is I can't give this away.
You can't.
Dun, 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 dun.
And he's been asked. He was asked to, they wanted to do a sequel to Spaceballs.
Oh, Spaceball, or Strange Brew.
Strange Brew. No, but isn't it Mel Brooks said, no, I can't do a Spaceballs without Rick Moranis.
Yeah, they did do the Spaceballs cartoon series without Rick Moranis. Do you know about the Spaceballs cartoon? Yeah, it came out late 2000s, produced by Mel Brooks. I forget where it aired, what the platform was. I think this is pre-streaming, so it was on one of the networks like Spike TV or something like that. I think it was kind of tone deaf or dumb, or it was just kind of stupid. Spaceballs is dumb, don't get me wrong, but it's smart dumb,
Only take the things essential for survival.
Take only what you need to survive. It's my industrial strength hairdryer, and I can't live without it.
Sure, they've gone to plaid.
I remember watching Spaceballs with Jim growing up, and he annoyed me because he had watched it so many times that he was quoting it along with the movie. So as we're watching it, I'm getting it in Jimmy-O. Not stereo, Jimmy-O, because he's in my other ear. But that's a fantastic movie, and I like Rick Moranis a lot. And I'm glad to see that he's coming out. His kids are grown, so maybe he's just, dipping his toe back into performing again.
Good. good.
Yeah.
So they'll bring him back into the next Ghostbusters, because I assume there's going to be another, Melissa McCarthy, Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
No, it did well, didn't it? Didn't it do well enough that they're going to do another one?
Yeah. Right.
So
I remember seeing a tweet from Paul Feig, the director, saying he was responding to some fan who said, "I love the new Ghostbusters," and great. I hope that someday Sony lets us do another one because.
So don't hold my breath.
Yeah, exactly.
We took last week off, and surprising, president still sucks. The world is still awful, and but there was a couple things that I did want to talk about in the comedy world. Well, related to comedic people that we talked about a great deal on the phone and stuff like that. Patton Oswalt in his late wife's book actually bringing a serial killer to justice.
Yeah, Michelle McNamara was a true crime writer, and for years she almost single-handedly obsessed and tried to get to the bottom of who she dubbed the Golden State Killer, who was a serial rapist and murderer in the Bay Area throughout the 60s or 70s and 80s.
70s. It's in the 70s, and then kind of went away for a while, and then resurfaced in the early 90s.
And the name of the book is "I'll Be Gone in the Dark," and it's a reference to, I guess, a line that was uttered to one of the survivors, one of the victims of the Golden State Killer, who said, you could tell somebody, but they won't believe you, and by the time they find out, you'll be dead, and I'll be gone in the dark.
And so she was 2/3, 3/4 of the way through this book. She's written a bunch of these books. She's, was one of the premier true crime authors of the last 20 years. And she passed away. And, Patton Oswalt, and this was her life's, this one thing, this unsolved thing was her mission for the last 10 years.
It was her other child.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he, along with the publisher, ended up getting a couple, other true crime people to jump on board and to finish the book. And what's amazing is we both listened to the Gilbert Gottfried podcast, and it was funny because this is about 2 weeks ago now, where we heard him on Gilbert, and the same day he was on, was it Seth Meyers? He was on one of the shows where he was at a book event in Chicago the night before, and they were getting in. They had a 7 a.m. flight from Chicago to New York. The writers of the book who finished the book, they were out on the book tour, and it just come out. They were doing a book tour, and about 3:00 in the morning, his phone started going off relentlessly because they had caught the guy. They had already started doing one of those serials. Like the crime, story, the podcast that got really big. Was that?
Yeah, Serial. Yeah.
And for HBO, and I guess the director called him in the morning. He's like, "Well, it's a different show now, isn't it?"
Right. They wanted to do something like The Jinx for HBO, and yeah, it was just crazy how only I think weeks after the book was published, and I know that. It's not just the book came out and that may have that didn't directly spark the investigation, but it probably rekindled some sort of interest. They found out who the guy was through Ancestry.com or 23andMe. They had some DNA evidence from one of the victims, but they had this broad spectrum of who their suspect could be. And then they were able to, I guess they had a lead, and then they asked a relative of the lead to see if they could, get their records from 23andme.com, or they went to 23andme.com and said, "Do you have records for this lineage?" And they say yes, and they supplied that to the investigators, and that vastly narrowed the field down.
Well, this was a cold case. Nobody was, and the interesting thing about it, the thing that I found most interesting is listening to Patton on a couple other shows, is he was talking about one of the problems. It wasn't a priority catching this guy. He didn't have a nickname.
Yeah. What was he called? The
first killings took place in Northern California.
Yeah.
And it was...
wasn't it the Bay Area Rapist or something?
No. The Bay Area Rapist would have been... Oh, okay. Well, it had a catchy name, or it was a short, easy to remember name. No, it was some really convoluted, because it was like a subsection of a part of town.
Right. It was way too geo-specific, yeah.
It wasn't one of those bumper sticker things, you know.
Right.
And then when he went down to Orange County, he gave it up or at least whatever for a long period of time, or they haven't found anybody. I think it was like a 12-year span. He had relocated to, Southern California and Orange County area. And that too, they didn't have a name for him there either. But when she figured out, like she was the one of the people who figured out this is the same guy. Like, and we talk about it all the time. Like different agencies don't talk to each other well or don't. And she's the one that came up with his name.
I looked it up. He used to be called the East Area Rapist, EAR. But he went by other names like the original Night Stalker, East Bay Rapist, the Diamond Knot Killer. I mean, yeah, it was just...
Once he locked on a cool name, which here's, listening to Patton Oswalt say it's awful, but that started to get the media involved and stuff like that.
Yeah, right. It sort of snowballs into something larger than it is, and it's marketing.
And so the great thing is, he was a police officer, and he got caught shoplifting. Do you remember when he got caught shoplifting?
It was like dog collars and. What was it?
It was like rope and dog spray.
Dog spray.
And it reminds me, and again, we're making light of this, there was an episode of Family Guy where for whatever the reason, Peter opens a trunk and Lois is there, and there's like a shovel, lime, duct tape, and rope. And Lois says, I don't know what you have in mind, Peter, but you can count me out. So the guy, because he doesn't want to have a receipt, basically, he doesn't want to have a record of him buying. It was like a hammer, rope, and dog spray.
Yes, a hammer. Yeah, right.
And there was a series of crimes in the area in which the window was pried open with a hammer. The people were tied up with this sort of rope who had dogs incapacitated by the spray. And so as soon as he got caught shoplifting, instead of them putting him on leave or investigating, he's just like, nope, I'm out. Gets in a car, drive away, and they're like, well, good riddance to him.
Right. Saves us the paperwork. Case closed. Although I thought maybe with those wacky things that he was buying, I thought he would take the story of, I'm like way into Rube Goldberg machines. So, like those things that hit into each other and dun, 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 dun.
Okay, I will look it up. Somebody I love on Twitter posted one of a guy.
Oh yeah, the one with the he's eating something.
Holy
that was
shit!
Great. That was great.
It involves him spilling a drink that starts the whole domino effect. It goes to this, which causes a hammer to hit a laptop call button on Skype, which causes
his cell phone.
No, yeah, which causes cell phone to vibrate,
which vibrates off of a platform and then lands dangling from its cord, which the baby it's like a literal 2-year-old that grabs the phone and yanks the cord along with the laptop it's attached to off the table, which then pulls something else and triggers a whole other mechanism.
I mean, without exaggeration, there's like 25, 30 different.
And it's just one guy.
One guy. Like and he's sitting there eating.
Yeah.
And so
and he has to duck his head at one point to avoid something.
Like there's almost like a wagon wheel that's rolling, but has like a pie-shaped thing.
Oh, like a cutout, right.
So it rolls maybe 5 feet away, but just as it gets to where his head would be, it times out, and he's just patiently sitting there eating. And so the whole thing is, as the camera pulls out and he finishes whatever he's eating, this whole machine puts another piece of cake
with a cherry
on his plate, and then it's like, wait for it. Sure. And I'm thinking, and I did. I when I retweeted that, because I'm a big fan. I'm like, I'll never get tired of OK Go videos.
OK Go.
Because they did one. They did two. They did the one on the treadmills, and then they did one these really elaborate. They gutted. They had a 2-story house, and it looked like they took the front off of it, and it was a one shot. Dude, the planning that goes into
Honda
that.
did one of those about 5 or 6 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. Honda did one. It was really, really good. It involved the car, but it involved like a marble rolling down the car, and it was just awesome.
But when I saw the iPhone triggering the iPad, and then the baby, so he didn't need the baby to look at the phone. He needed the baby
to yank
the phone to keep it all going.
Which, by the way, leads you to believe this has happened before.
No, I saw that. It was great. But so Patton Oswalt kept the book going. The publishers reinvigorated. But again, we've talked about cases, that our friend Taylor has done. And it's like, I mean, hopefully things are changing in some ways. But, one of his big cases is like they didn't want to solve it because they knew it was a cop and they knew the problem it would be closing a case that was 25 years old because it was a cop, that it would. The bad press, the digging up all the old cases that this person was part of, and it's like they literally wanted to look the other way.
Well, I'm glad that Michelle McNamara didn't, and God rest her soul. And I'm not a religious guy. I just say God rest her soul because what else do you say? What do what would you say in that situation?
I'd say what Patton Oswalt said. Next.
Well, in the last Patton Oswalt special, he mentions that she had a credo because she was not like a religious person. She wasn't into the afterlife or, anything like that. She didn't believe in karma. She was just like, her mantra was, honey, it's chaos, be kind. And that's
right.
Yeah, that's what he lives by.
So let's talk about another comedian who was more in the news last week, but I did want to touch on it anyways, just because I thought it was an interesting news story. Michelle Wolf and the Correspondents' Dinner. Any thoughts?
No, because it's been all thought out. I mean, she just appeared on Seth Meyers recently.
Did you see any of the clips? I mean,
oh yeah, I heard the routine.
Was it funny?
The highlighted parts were very funny. It was a roast. It's just indicative of this whole mentality from this administration and the far right that like to harp on anything that's critical of the administration.
Right. So you can Huckleberry Sanders stand there and berate the media every day. You can call people liars. You can say the awful tweets and the name calling and the go down the list.
Defend your rapist president.
Right. I'm sorry. Could you back that up? You mean your racist, Nazi-loving rapist president?
Yes, thank you.
But if you make any comedic forum that has a history of being a comedic forum, make jokes, now all of a sudden
let's all back up. This is not real outrage. This is all part of the plan. Trump didn't appear at the last White House Correspondents' Dinner. He didn't appear at this one. He won't appear at the next one. And if he had his way, which I think he clearly states, he does not want any future White House Correspondents' Dinners.
Well, extrapolate it one step beyond. He doesn't want any White House correspondents.
Exactly.
I mean,
this is all part of the dismantling of the media and the discrediting of free press.
With the exception of state-run media.
Yeah. No, I said free press.
Right. Which today...
like free-range press.
Which today, one of their favorite targets today was John McCain, because torture is back in the news. And the whole CIA Gina... the woman who's up for the CIA.
I don't know.
Well, she ran a black ops torture facility.
Why gotta be black?
She ran a black ops torture facility and gave the typical Nuremberg, I was only following orders. And of course, somebody finds Dick Cheney and puts him in front of the cameras the last couple of days saying, we got this great evidence with torture and we got to bring torture back. And then, of course, Fox News, was going after John McCain, who in the height of this, back in 2002, 2003, was saying, this is un-American. That's when he really got the Maverick thing. I mean, he supported going to war. He supported 99% of, the Bush administration, but he was like, no, we don't torture. Like, I was tortured to keep us from being tortured. And so they were saying, it's like, well, torture works, and that's why he was referred to as like Songbird John back in in Vietnam, because he, they tortured him and he spilled the beans. And it's like,
right, and that's why we lost the war.
Holy shit. It's like, again, it's like, those black football players kneeling. How dare they do that to the truth? But let's go ahead and berate and humiliate and degrade. I think it's safe to say you're not a fan of John McCain's politics. I think it's safe to say I'm not a fan of John McCain's politics in any way. Guy was a war hero. You can't do anything except, thank somebody with the Purple Heart for their service and for their years of sacrifice, except when you're on Fox News and you want to be complete awful people. Anyways, speaking of awful people, how's that Me Too movement going?
Well, it's going just fine. It doesn't need the help of certain people.
Like let's say champions of the Me Too movement.
White male champions.
Yes, white male and a position of power. New York District Attorney.
No, he wasn't a DA. He's a AG.
AG, I'm sorry. Yeah.
The New York Attorney General Eric Schneiderman,
who was very,
who by the way was hilarious on One Day at a Time. I just want to get that out of the way.
What was it, Miss Romano?
Mrs. R. Was it Miss R?
Dude, God, it's hard to say because there was so many great porn mustaches and sitcoms back there. But Schneider had to have, if not the best, porn mustache in a primetime sitcom.
Pat Harrington was the guy's name. Yeah, he was great. Anyways, I digress, as we usually do.
Which is fine. No,
we strive to do that on Carnival Personnel.
So here, this guy, and again, this is what's awful. His actions. We'll start with that. Let's not diminish why he's in this situation. But it's one of these guys who fought back against like the Muslim ban. There's all these things where he's like, it's an age of coming forward. Don't hold back. All these things. And so this New York Times, or was it the
failing New York Times?
The failing New York Times had an article, and within 3 hours, the state of New York Democratic people said, "You're out." Like Cuomo, right away. No, let's see how this pans out. There's one side of the fence where somebody comes out, a prestigious publication that has 3 or 4 corroborating witnesses say these awful actions happen, and right away the Democrats say, "Gosh, this guy's been great for us. This is unacceptable." Bye.
Which is something to be revered and something that could be considered an Achilles heel of being the do-goody Democrats because, these are founded accusations.
Right.
So it's not like it's just like these trumped up kind of charges or some hit job by
fake news.
Yeah, this is probably more egregious than the Senator Al Franken incident.
Oh, well, this is much worse. And he for like a nanosecond was trying to play it off as it was like it was sex. It was just it's rough sex, and it's like it was part of it. Didn't say the safe word, which by the way, like Joe and our established safe word is keep going. But that's a different story altogether. No, but it is. It's one of those things where, like, you're right. It's like, I'm still upset that Al Franken wasn't given his day in court and all this stuff. But here's the bottom line for me. Fuck everybody who says both parties are the same, because there's not. And this is, again, a clear cut. It was a 3-hour window. It was, this came out, this is a source, this is verified. This guy's a huge asset to have on our team, but we'd rather,
Right. It's not worth having him around.
So that's...
We can do without. And then, of course, Samantha Bee, who had him as a guest on his show, did a piece this week about Eric Schneiderman entitled "Fuck You, Eric Schneiderman," because he was sort of championed as like this champion.
A Me Too movement champion.
Movement.
Like you said, an older white male with money and power,
right,
who was a champion for women's causes.
Yeah, this is a pattern, because remember Elliot Spitzer, wasn't he the champion of getting prostitution off the streets? And...
Yeah, okay, now, see, that's what I don't like, because you're only taking one side of the issue. Okay. How many people live up to campaign promises? He said he was getting them off the street. He just didn't say it was one woman at a time. You didn't hear, but credit where credit's due. He got them off the street.
Right. Or like these big anti-gay people turned out flaming.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way,
we're not interested in who's gay.
Right. We're interested in how gay they are. That's a reference, not a real thing. Okay. By the way, I want to say unequivocally, I'm not a champion of anything. And Jacques, you're not a champion of anything. I think maybe
spelling.
Yes, spelling.
All right. Well, I'll let that wash over anyone who ever got an email or a text from me.
Oh my God! Siri once said to me, "I'm out." Like, I don't know how you did it.
And again, it's like I was just reading the news. I'm going to direct this right to our friend All-Star Tommy. What the fuck's going on at Yale, All-Star Tommy? They've had a number of incidents where black students have had the audacity to be in a dorm where they're going to school and having people call the cops. Like there was a woman who fell asleep studying in the common room, and somebody didn't recognize her, and literally a grad student, like not like a freshman first day there, and you can mistake this, this black woman with all these books as being like, I don't know what, but and it's great because again, everybody's now their own news station, and the girl just recorded herself talking to the police, and then while talking to the police, the girl who called on it, came out, goes, well, I don't know who you are, and blah blah blah, and it's like, the black guys at Starbucks who have the nerve of being what was that? Oh, they were black at Starbucks. So I was just looking at the news yesterday, and this is why I never look at the news, but when we're talking about guns, do you see the guy, Orange County, stay classy, Orange County, Buena Vista, I think it was, Latino, goes in the store, literally, there's 2 cameras, from the cashier, from the front and the side. This guy has the nerve. This guy has the effing nerve to take out a $20 bill, put a pack of Mentos on the counter, and while the guy's counting out the change, puts the Mentos in his pocket. Guy hands him his change, and as the cashier is counting the dollar bills to give back to him, off-duty white cop pulls his gun on him. Says, I'm a cop, take that out of your pocket. Like, takes a step back. He's like 2 steps behind him, but when he takes a gun out, gives himself some more space. Takes a step back, and the guy's like turns around like he has no idea who he's talking to. And he's like, what? He goes, in your pocket. I saw that. You're stealing that. Put it back. And he's like, no, I just bought these. And he goes to turn to the cashier, and the guy's like, put it down. Take it out of your pocket. Get out of here. He waits. He lets the cop lets the cashier hand the guy his change. And as he's walking out, he says to the cashier, the cop, he goes, did he buy that? And he's like, yeah, he bought that. He goes, all right, you can get it. And he gets it, still holding the gun out. The gun is still out the whole time. Now, let's say this guy is guilty of the 2 things, not being white and stealing Mentos. Where, I'm trying to think, other than Saudi Arabia, where is stealing Mentos a capital offense?
The guy holding the gun is clearly a crazy person.
Right. No. He's a good guy with a gun, Joe.
It's incredible. I don't know if he passed the background check and then got the gun and then got drunk with power and then became crazy. Some people just have crazy in them, right, and it takes a little bit of nudging and a little sprinkling of authority to bring the crazy out.
Now, this off-duty cop, let me be clear about this. Yes, he identified himself as being a police officer and as he's pulling his gun out, didn't identify himself as a police officer and pulling out his badge. His first instinct was to pull out his gun. And again, and here's the cashier calmly counting his money to him. It's like,
whatever happened to levels of force, man? What the fuck?
There was nothing on the counter. Like, it wasn't like he was buying groceries and getting change for that. So there was I don't know what went through the guy's head, but like I said, didn't identify himself as a police officer. Here's my badge. And it's scary because as he takes the gun out, he cocks it. And I'm like, holy shit. Again, this guy, his 2 crimes were being Latino or not being white. Let's be honest, not being white. And even if he was stealing Mentos, even if he was stealing a whole case of Mentos, you know what I mean? The fact that you would pull a gun on that is so mind-numbing.
There's a lot of bad cops out there. A lot of bad cops. I mean, that's just the way it is. There's a lot of bad cops. They're not all rookies that don't know the rules, or they're not all veterans who are grizzled. And there's a whole spectrum of just bad fucking people who have the authority to carry a gun and enforce the law. Look, it's rough. I mean, every police force is different. Most police forces that we see being portrayed apparently have very little regard for how their officers are to execute their levels of force. They're not trained in how to de-escalate a situation.
Right.
They're not trained in how to approach certain situations. Or if they are trained, they're not retaining that training.
Here's the good and the bad. When the King, what was his name?
Martin Luther King.
Not Martin Luther King.
Larry King.
No, who's the guy?
Burger King. Rodney
King. Rodney King. That was so stunning because that was the dawn of home video recorders. That's in the early 90s. Now, and no one had seen that before. That was such a stunning thing. Now you can take 1 second and go to YouTube, but you don't have to go to YouTube. Like almost, if not daily on the news, weekly. And there's footage because, like I said, everybody's now carrying around a network broadcasting ability in their pocket. We can videotape and everything. Now more and more cops have the vest cams and stuff like that. And there isn't a cop union that hasn't fought against, like, pushed back on having these cams, but being able to Facebook Live, we see more and more and more of this. And it's like, it's more prevalent. And it's one of those things where, like, minorities who've been saying for absolutely ever, this is what it's like. It's now every single day. Now I do, because we didn't do the podcast last week.
Lucky you guys.
I am going to jump back to something.
You're getting 3 hours this time.
So there was, so again, now here's a good guy with a gun pulling it on a bad guy stealing Mentos without a gun. But we weren't on, we didn't talk last week. This is now going back 3 weeks because we forgot to mention it. The good guy without a gun tackling the bad guy with a gun at the Waffle House, which two important points. That guy is truly a hero because A, the lives that he saved, and B, saving those people from having to eat at a Waffle House. But of course, to this day, 3 weeks later, Blotus doesn't say anything about it. The white guy wasn't labeled a terrorist. I think he was labeled a nudist because for some reason he was shooting the guy from Waffle House. And I love the guy, the hero without the gun
James Shaw Jr.
who did rush the guy. And it was one of those things, like, while he was reloading clips, he didn't run out. He was reloading clips. And every interview he goes, I'm not a hero. It's like, if I don't tackle this motherfucker now and let him reload, he kills me.
Yeah. And he said in many interviews that his mentality was, all right, if I'm going to die, I'm going to make him work for it.
And so, but again, it's like more and more of these footages coming out. At one point, it's like the more the stuff that you see like this, the less you can convince me that anybody needs a gun for any of this stuff. Anyways, on a happier note, which is really kind of funny. Well, no, nothing's funny about this. But we talked about this in the past. For the last 2 years during the Nobel, and the people from the Nobel committee or whatever their foundation is, has gotten fraudulent. Like, somehow somebody put Blotus on the ballot, fraudulently. And they've had investigations. It's like, who infiltrated their system to be able to put him up on the website as a nominee for the Nobel Prize?
Russia.
But this year, somebody, because of, trying to get this North Korea thing going, somebody actually nominated him. But that was 2 weeks ago. And as Joe and I sit here now, we've withdrawn from the Iran deal, which has started to escalate quite quickly with Iran and Syria now fighting over a spot of land that overlooks Israel. And and I hate Netanyahu, and he is a driving force between tearing this. He's the only one around the world. All the other powers, because all the other Security Council people, which was a shocking thing, China. China, thank you, Russia, Germany, France, everybody got together for this Iran deal and said, yes, this is the best way to keep them from developing for at least the next 10 years. And just within days of, withdrawing from that. And that's why Macron came over. That's why Merkel came over. So the talks with Kim Jong-un is still on schedule, but it looks like he was able to, between moving the embassy to Jerusalem and withdrawing from the Iran nuclear deal, is going well out of his way to piss everybody off. So,
did we mention that, or should we mention or talk about how Trump has single-handedly released the 3 North Korean hostages?
Well, and what's awesome is how great they were treated.
Yeah, and I just want to thank Kim Jong-un, great guy. I'm saying
no, but he did say that.
Essentially, he just said thank. He thanked Kim Jong Un, Rocket Man. What was the other nickname?
I'm thanking him for releasing the people that he illegally or unlawfully detained. So,
Right.
it's like in a hostage negotiation setting, it's like, oh, he was so great the way he released the hostages. It's like, but wait, he took
I want to thank the Ayatollah
hostages.
for releasing the.
And you thanked Hitler. I would never. But what's great, and again, nobody's talking about this.
I do want to give Jacques his own Carnival Personnel Peace Prize for yet again crowbarring Hitler into a podcast for the 86th straight week.
Okay, when I say seek, you say. No, but yeah, I will always find a way to put that kid in the hall referencing because I think that is my single favorite.
I would never.
Why are they so quiet? I don't know. Maybe because you think Hitler. But seriously, it's like, and again, it's one of those things where 11 hostages, or I don't know if hostage is the right word, 11 prisoners were released during the Obama administration that were taken prisoner. During the Bush administration. But of course, you will not hear those. These are the first prisoners ever released anywhere.
Obama stole those prisoners,
Ever.
okay?
So yeah. And here's the great thing. So they fly these people back. Blotus meets them. They have these gigantic, ostentatious, flags the size of God's ego. And when they landed and were rescued, it was 3:00 in the morning here.
Yep.
And did you hear this? He can't not bring up ratings. Oh, the news broke at 3 a.m. You probably have the biggest 3 a.m. ratings ever.
He did not.
I
can't.
Why don't you bing that? Why don't you ask Jeeves about that? And I'm telling you, it's like, holy shit, why? It's still about ratings with you. Are you that pissed you lost The Apprentice?
And I need a medal.
Right.
A Nobel Peace Medal.
So what do you think of the mooch? Oh, I'm sorry. Rudy Giuliani, who is
The Rooch?
Rudy.
I don't know.
He is well, first of all, he's out of a job, like the law firm that he worked for, because he can't say anything that isn't batshit crazy. And last week's explanation is like why Michael Cohen would just pay the porn star without clearing it with his clients. Like, as a lawyer, you do that all the time. You just do things for your clients all the time. You don't have to tell them. It's like you take care of things. And the big, huge law firm he works for came out and was like, yeah, no, that's not our policy.
No. He's confusing us with Ray Donovan.
Right. It's exactly what it is. Exactly
like a fixer, like some sort of like Hollywood fixer that comes out and just sort of like the wolf.
The wolf.
Yeah. Shit, you call him the wolf?
But yeah, so seriously, now he is full-time working with Trump because he doesn't have the other job, but it's all came down to that law firm distancing themselves. So on one hand, you have Blotus, after his first 2 days of whirlwind thing, saying, yes, we paid him and all this stuff. And Blotus saying, oh, he just came on. He'll get us facts straight. We'll figure this all out. It's like, get the lie straight, you mean? And then he loses it. But he's very much like the mooch, where he's making a big splash. He can't get in enough cameras. He can't be louder and more, I'm going to end this investigation. For who?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really unclear of who you're working for at this part.
Look, Rudy, just read the speech the way Charlie wrote it, all right, will you?
Because, see, you can fool some of the people.
Most of the time. And most of the people, some of the time. But you can't fool all the people all the time. Well, see, the last time we got it back, it was you can fool all the people all the time.
And Stormy's lawyer, it's like the guy, I guess he's, Taylor knows him, and I guess he's a pretty decent lawyer.
Michael Avenatti.
But he every time he's on one of these shows, he can't not be lit up like a Christmas tree. And he's like, they're doing my job for me. And because of every time they tell a lie and it opens another can of worms, it's like, oh, well, he just paid this money. Well, let's look into where he got the money. And just in the past 48 hours, it's come out that about 3 weeks before the election, Cohen opened a new consulting company with no office space, just a P.O. box that ended up getting millions of dollars from like a Korean airline company, from AT&T, who are paying him. And what's really, really great, there's a healthcare company. I think it's a Scandinavian healthcare company. They paid him $100,000 retainer for a year, like a month. It was a year contract, $100,000 a month, like $1.2 million for helping them with accounting practice is what they listed. And so when the story broke, they were like, oh, no, we didn't deal with him. We dealt with somebody else's company. And then somebody went back to him and goes, it's a one-person company. Yeah. Oh, they released 4 different official statements in the course of 24 hours and finally saying, well, our former CEO worked it all out with him. He's gone. We know nothing about this, but they did confirm that about 6 months ago, because we're hearing about it now. Mueller had talked to their CEO 6 months ago. So all this stuff, but it's like, and here's the other thing. So here's Stormy's lawyer, and I think it was Rachel Maddow asked her, it's like, how do you know this? Like we are MSNBC. We didn't hear about this. There was no trickling about this side company that Cohen had. How did you get all this?
Yeah.
How did he get all this?
Well, what about the $500,000 from the Russian oligarch?
Right. Who was detained at an airport in the United States within the last 6 months, and he detained and sent back home because he's on a banned list, and he also. Which great because AT&T paid him a shitload of money, and during the campaign, there's that AT&T Comcast merger that Blotus was very upfront about. It's like, this is bad. That's too much consolidated power in telecommunications and entertainment. Your price will go up completely against it. About 3 days after the first payment was made to Michael Cohen through this company, Blotus came out and was interviewed and goes, well, I'm staying out of any litigation. It's like he went from, we can't allow this to happen to, well, I'm going to see where the chips fall. Uh-huh. Nothing to do with large sums of money. But my question to you is, how's that swamp training going?
It's going to be a lot smoother now that we don't have that net neutrality to bug us.
Yeah, thank goodness. Thank goodness my porn's going to be that much slower.
Yep. And this podcast will be that much harder to get. And find. Or get rid of.
Or just harder to listen to.
Yeah, no.
But
is that possible?
But wait, before we move on, we've been bashing Blotus, but not everybody's bashing him. Some people are supporting him, and and it takes guts and courage to stand up and support somebody like him. Right, Kanye West?
Next.
Okay,
can we move on from the Kanye?
Can. But I just want to say, Obama was right about everything. That famous quote where and he knew the mic was hot.
He was wrong about yes, we can. Unless the end of that sentence was elect a racist president.
But he was getting ready to do, and this is back in 2009. It was right after Kanye came up on stage and took the trophy.
He's a jackass.
All the news stations have been playing that the last week. It's like, man, he's right about everything.
Yeah, and is he right about drones too, Jacques? Is he right about drones?
Anyway, no, he wasn't right about everything. But, he wasn't as wrong about drones as you and I were about opening box office for Infinity War. You are way off.
Well, they didn't get my money.
But they sure the hell got mine.
Yes.
I want to find the paper because we wrote it down. I want to say I said 225.
Oh, I think I threw it out. Yeah, we were in the 200s, and they were in the 600s.
630 opening weekend. 12 days to break $1 billion. And here's a crazy thing. I didn't see it the first week. I didn't see it the first 8 or 9 days. When I went to see it, the second weekend it was out, the number 5 movie that weekend, internationally, domestic and internationally,
Black Panther.
Still, honestly. So you have with it within the same day. You go to these things and you have three screens with Infinity War, 1 or 2 still with Black Panther.
Yeah.
It is crazy.
Yeah. You know what movie's going to blow that out of the water, though?
What movie is that?
Bill and Ted 3.
Oh, without a doubt. Well, now that they got the original cast back together.
It is great, though. I don't know. 2 kind of sucked. I don't remember watching. I watched 2 in the theater, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Have you seen any of the Bill and Ted's movies?
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, I've seen clips and I know enough, but it's like...
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is okay. It's pretty good. It's all right.
It's quotable. I know all the great lines.
George Carlin, can't go wrong.
Billy Shakespeare.
Yep. You got Napoleon in there. You got your Genghis Khan. Yeah, that was a fun movie. It even spawned video games, which were terrible.
Did it really?
Yeah, there was.
Do you have any?
No, I don't have them. But there was a PC game, which was I remember my friend had it at his house, and we did play it. And it was just convoluted. It was fucked up, but it was. I don't know. It was all right.
Was it E.T. bad?
No.
Okay.
No, nothing could be E.T. bad, except for maybe Pac-Man for the 2600. Yes, that's worse. That's a worse game for the Atari than E.T. All right.
That's bold.
That is very bold.
So what you're saying is you're excited about Bill and Ted, which
I didn't say I was excited. You're putting words in my mouth. I said that they was going to blow Avengers
away. So
eventually, not overnight, not over the first weekend.
I'm not going to review it. I'm not going to mention anything about Infinity War, except there's two things I'll point out with my parenting tip of the week. I will say the one thing about Infinity War. And it's funny because everybody who's reviewed the movie has said the same thing. They've never been in a movie theater when a big blockbuster movie ended and nobody moved. Silence. People weren't talking to each other. People were, oh, I can't believe this just happened. Oh, I didn't see that coming. This was really great. Oh, this was awful. Nothing. I mean, silence. And it's like
you were left speechless.
Everybody. Like, the theater was just, everybody's waiting to see if there's a bonus thing, and complete silence about, so the theater empties, go to the little boys' room to go potty, all the urinals are taken, maybe 2-3 people deep, and it's like, no one's in there chit-chatting to their buddies who are next to them and waiting in line. It was fucking eerie. It was absolutely
it took your brain couldn't process what you just saw.
Just people walking the pillars on the way out because they were just like in such dazes. It's like,
oh man.
And I'm thinking, wow, because my theater, it was active. People were gasping and people were marveling, laughing and crying and all the emotions you get out of these movies. But at the end of the day, like even when the trailer scene comes out and stuff like that, there was no like, oh, that's all. At that point,
you were just spent.
It's 3 hours, so you were just spent anyways.
Right.
But I don't see an end in sight with it because 6:30 the first weekend, and I think it was close to 5 the second weekend. I mean, I don't know if this is a $2 billion movie, but
yeah, it could be. I mean, it will be. It will be eventually.
I'll look. The funny thing is, I bought Black Panther streaming, and it's like it's still in the theaters. It's still in and when people talk about like the changing landscape of entertainment, and our kids can't name a network, but they can tell you they can't name 10 network stars, but they can tell you the top 10 people doing Minecraft walkthroughs on YouTube or and stuff like that. But there's still the experience of going to a theater. And the fact that Black Panther is still this week, it's probably a top 10 grossing movie in theaters, but yet for the same amount of money to walk in a theater and see it one time, you can own it.
Yep, but I will go see Avengers because I know Jacques is secretly hating me because I haven't seen Avengers.
There's no secret about it. When have I hated my distaste? But at least I can say once again, emphatically, I'm not a racist. I bought Black Panther the day it came out. I bought a black guy's movie the day I could.
I thought you were going to stop it. I bought a black guy.
I was going to, but I'm like, oh, yeah. Look, sometimes it's like, yeah. Even I have my limitations. Mostly because of the job I have now. I got a lot of black friends who are much bigger than me, who may
really
not listen.
Friends?
No, but they do work with me. They are bigger than me, and so I'm gonna curtail my racism just a little bit.
Okay, and they found this podcast apparently.
Let's hope not. Yeah. So let's see where we got. Oh yeah, now look what time it is.
Time to make that cold hard cash. You know it. You love it.
Make it rain.
Yeah,
make it rain.
It's time for our defunct sponsor of the week.
Let's visit the land of heavy metal with our most excellent cereal.
Pass the gruel!
Looks like a gruel duel, dude. Heinous display of manners. We've got a most excellent way to start your day. Or night. Bill and Ted's excellent cereal. Cinnamon Oats with marshmallow notes. It's the most triumphant part of this complete breakfast.
Awesome cereal, Dudes.
Who gets the last bowl?
He does. New Bill and Ted's excellent cereal.
It's most excellent.
Okay, Joe's favorite time of the podcast, sport.
Oh, I thought I was switching over my laundry from washer to dryer.
So here's a couple sports things. I don't think we've talked baseball on this podcast. I don't think we've talked Red Sox baseball on this podcast, but we are.
I did want to mention one thing. That
Please do.
apparently the Mets did the most Metsiest thing ever. The New York Mets, the amazing Mets, killed a first-inning rally by doing something that hasn't been done in baseball for a couple of years.
Triple play.
They batted out of order.
Holy shit.
Yes. Apparently the lineup card that was handed to the umpire
Dude, that's
did not match what was broadcast.
Wow.
No. What was submitted was, I guess Carrera was batting cleanup. Oh, no, he was batting third on the publicized version of the lineup, but the batting order, he had him batting second. And so when Carrera went up to bat third, somebody from the Reds bench who got the same card that was submitted to the umpire said, hey, they batted out of order, and I guess there was they were starting a rally. You know, like it was like a 2-out kind of this situation. I don't know.
I didn't hear any of this. I couldn't be happier. Oh, that is the Metsiest Mets thing and Mets history.
Yeah. I mean, how many are there more Metsy things or Jetsy things? I don't know.
Oh God, yeah.
We gotta have a Mets versus Jets off. When you're a Mets, you're a Met all the way.
Okay.
Anyways, go on.
You sidebar me.
I did.
Talking baseball. I'm talking
Baseball.
Shut up, me. And I'm talking Red Sox baseball. I'm talking my 8-year-old son, Red Sox baseball, because out of the blue, he's not out of the blue. With the broken foot, spending so much time at my mom's house, she was always having him in the backyard, and he thought baseball was Grammy pitching it to him. I talked about that, like nothing else but just getting to hit. And so he wants to join. And the league had already started, and I called them, like, is it too late? And they're like, no, it's great. So he's doing it, and I was really surprised because turns out baseball, it's really fucking boring.
Yeah.
It's hard to watch. I mean, it is hard.
Is it Special Olympics hard to watch? Or Paralympics?
You know,
whatever the hell.
I
President
watched
said.
as long as I could. You know, they're incredible athletes, but I watched as hard as I could. It's hard to watch. No, but it's and I sent some clips. So you know, my little guys haven't come up. You know, we didn't grow up here, and you know, I never really pushed the sports. But the little guy, he did hockey last year. He did lacrosse. He did hockey this last 2 winters. But he wanted to try this. I'm like, I'm all for it. But, you know, the rule is if you sign up, you got to do the whole thing. Dude, they do jiu-jitsu 2 or 3 times a week, which is fine, but it's an hour. These fucking games are 2.5 hours. Like, literally, they're scheduled for 2.5 hours, 3 days a week. That's
6-inning games in 2.5 hours?
Yeah. And, well, because
everybody gets a bat?
Everybody gets a bat. You know, well, here's the interesting thing. Like, if one team is good, no team's good. But they play half the game with this. When I say it's a machine, it's actually, you know, you pull the ball, you put the ball on an arm, you pull it back, and the coach steps on a lever. So it's that kind of machine. So most of the pitches, you know, the kids are going to get a clean pitch.
Yeah.
But if one team gets a lot of hits, or surprising with the lowest level for 7 and 8-year-olds, a lot of fielding errors,
Yeah.
but they don't let you keep hitting. If like everybody on the team hit once, then you just
move on.
You don't keep going. But so if your team doesn't get, so my little guy, so the other day, you know, they have like 12 kids on the bench. So 3 kids don't sit every inning, and you play a different position. I really like it. It's like, so not one kid's just going to pitch, or one kid, everybody plays everything. But my kid, that's not really his thing, but he's liking doing it. And so I think, you know, management posted this on Facebook. I look up, and you know, they put him in left field, which he's gonna spend a lot of time in left field, you know, just the way it is. And he's doing all the dances from Fortnite. Like they have all these dances. And I said it to management, I'm like, Tristan, go play left field. Tristan, great. more room to work on my moves. The entire thing. And
I'm picturing that Celebrity Jeopardy where Jeff Goldblum is practicing David Duchovny is practicing some sort of Tai Chi.
And he's dancing up there and he's doing all these moves. And here's most of the coaching that he's getting. Tristan, put your glove on. Or Tristan, turn around. Tristan, only halfway.
Yeah, right.
And look, I'm going to brag a little bit. His first at bat, got a hit. The ball maybe went 7 to 8 inches in front of the plate, but it's a hit, and he made it to first. And then later, the next person like walked or something like what. He ended up coming around to home. I haven't got into the subtle nuances of, hey, you're not going to be very good at this. It doesn't hurt that much. Lean into the pitch. Take one for the team. Stop being a pussy. But this will like honestly, and then so I'm watching.
I didn't realize we were doing parenting tips ahead of schedule.
No. But I wasn't sure to put in parenting tips or with sport. But I'm watching this and I'm sending out texts to you and other people about his abilities, and I'm thinking, oh man. Did I sign him up for Little League just to have new material? Am I just doing this to get a routine here? And I believe it's...
I'm going to say no because you're not writing jokes. It's just like, look at my kid. Doesn't he look stupid?
Awful.
Yeah.
All right. So now we will talk. So the Bruins are out of the playoffs, which, it's a big bummer. Plus, we weren't here last week, and I would have talked more in detail. You heard about Brett Marchand, my favorite player, licking people, which everyone's like shocked by this. I played juniors with a guy who kissed people all the time. Like, because if you're pushing, like, especially, the linesman back is to you while he's dropping a face off, and he would, the wingers are always jostling for position. He would always lean in and like, pushing, shoving your helmet to helmet, and would just give a quick, just as puck's dropping. How many times? I'm going to say, and I mean it, I'm going to say 3 to 4 times the last season I played, with him. It was like 94, 95, 95, 96. He drew 3 or 4 penalties because if you drop your gloves, it's an automatic 5-minute major. You don't have to throw a punch if you drop your gloves. So he would kiss somebody, they would drop their gloves instantly. He's skating backwards, putting his hand up like, what the fuck's going on? And it's like, so, I mean, a little peck on the cheek versus full on licking somebody's cheek. Not a surprise, but more importantly, as we record this, it is May 10th. It is let me get this straight.
10th day of the month. Oh, wait.
No, it is the 48th anniversary of the greatest moment in hockey history.
Not 49th like you have written down on the paper?
No, because I turned 49 next month, and it was just, I remember being 11 months old watching this. Of course, 11 months old when the goal happened, but you've seen it. You're not a big sport guy. How many times have you seen the Bobby Orr goal? Without exaggeration, the great,
I think it was played in the room when I was being delivered.
Probably conceived.
I work right near Boston Garden. So you drive by that statue every day.
So
commemorate it.
The boys and I came to back from L.A. The oldest one's 3 at the time, and the baby's a baby. No, he's about a year and a half old. And the day of the Cup, we were in town. We met our friend Ross, and we went over to see the statue. And while I'm standing at the statue, there's 2 different news crews here. I don't know if you remember this, and I'll post the picture. Maybe I can post the link or the story if I can find it. But I can definitely post the picture. Everybody's taking pictures by the Bobby Orr statue, and I think it was Ross told the news crew, it's like, oh, that guy has a number 4 on his foot, tattooed on his foot. The news guy comes over and is like, yeah. And I'm like, I'm in town from L.A. I came in town to watch the Cup with the family, and they're like, oh, let's see the tattoo. So I'm on the I think it was Channel 5 News. They take a picture, they take footage of the foot, and it's me and Grace is on my shoulder, like in front of the Bobby Orr statue. So That's my brush with the Bobby Orr statue greatness. Anyway, so I'll bring that up.
By the way, we have to also acknowledge that a donation from one of our supporters, Jacques, is the Bobby Orr retirement.
Yep,
what do you call that? The banner.
Yeah, he retired number.
Yes,
like miniature little flag.
There's a miniature retired number hanging behind me on the door in my stinky.
And I didn't give it to Joe to be nice, I gave it to him because I'd rather look at that for the hour and a half I'm down
I'm
here.
looking at tons of video games behind Jacques, and I'm like,
looking
wow.
at the Goodell. I'm looking at the temperature gauge, the Bobby Orr retired
We
number,
need
and the
now.
Goodell.
I think we need the shot of Larry Bird stealing from out of bounds. Like,
or the I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go
Mario
with the
Stremski. Like,
no. I'm going with the Dr. J, Larry Bird choking each other. That's the famous thing with the or the Carlton Fisk. If it stays
Or
fair,
is there a picture of Larry Bird tarring his back?
Nice. So last thing is, everybody's favorite arena football team, Mass Pirates. You got to go to a game sooner or later. Like every game, it's the worst.
Can they bring it closer to Boston?
They've talked about that, which would make no sense.
Yeah,
They're a minor league sport.
Yeah.
Stay in a minor league town. Like you can ingratiate yourself and become part of the landscape
Absolutely.
there.
Right.
They're
not called the Boston Spinners.
No,
they're the Lowell Spinners.
It's exactly. Thank you. But it is like they're 4-1. Last Sunday's game, this past Sunday's 4 days ago, it went down to they scored a touchdown with like 8 seconds left. And then had to make 2 defensive stops to keep it. And it's not like the NFL where you have to march down 100-foot field. It's like, it is. It's really a lot of fun. You got to eventually go to the game. But that.
If only I had an in with the management.
Telling you. I want to bring this up before we get to my favorite part of the week. So one of our friends, a band, the Rationales, Dave from the Rationales, he was to play the tailgate party this week, but it got rained out. And it was really a bummer. It was great hanging out with him for a while because he had to schlep there anyways in case they were going on. I kept telling him, stop being a pussy, because what made U2 is the Live at Red Rock concert in 1982. Like, they were a small band that had some nice hits and were up and coming. They went through the stratosphere. So, and he's like, well, the power and electricity and stuff like that really doesn't go well. I'm like, hey, pussy, literally across the street from the DCU Center, it's a hospital.
Yeah.
Like, we're fine.
Right.
Seriously. So I wake the next morning, and where Dave had this, how he had it, he had the calendar from March 1992 because he opened for us. And it was like a couple other Fitchburg bands. It was a really nice walk down memory lane. I'm like, oh, my God. And I take it, and I sent it to Dan and John and stuff like that, and Roddy. And then I'm looking, oh, my God. Like Matt Waugh, like my best friend from high school had a little brother who's his drummer in high school band was the drummer who I permanently borrowed my set from. I forgot to return it ever. I'm like, oh my God, I was so hammered. I completely forgot. Well, I don't remember the bill at all or the show or that this guy was in it, but it was a nice little walk down memory lane.
Well, that's nice.
Now, our favorite part of the week.
Oh, is it time for our random video game review?
Do I have a limitation of where I can pull from?
No, anything. And it doesn't even have to be video games.
Oh,
I don't know.
that.
Whatever.
Oh,
just take anything off my walls, put it in your car, and sell it. So Jacques going to my wall of games, supposedly, allegedly, and he's going to pull a video game off, maybe. Maybe he'll pull off something else. Maybe he'll pull off an 8-track. Who the fuck knows? Maybe he'll pull off like a Cabbage Patch Kid that I have up there. So he grabbed something off the wall.
I did.
And I'm going to have to somehow figure out which wall he pulled off of. Let's see. I think... Oh, gee. I don't know. Man. I don't know. I think he pulled something off of the... Did you go for the PlayStation 2 or the PlayStation Portable? Is it PlayStation 3?
You're not going to get it.
Wait.
Because you really weren't looking.
I really was not looking. Hold on a second. Let me look around and kill some time here. All my board games seem to be intact. Okay, is it a video game?
No.
Oh, it is not a video game. Okay, it's is it a book?
It is not a book. That's kryptonite to me, man.
That's where I hide my money. Is it a movie?
It's not.
Is it a magazine?
No, but I'm holding it in my hand.
I don't want to guess what's holding it in your hand. Is it like a toy or something?
Yeah.
Oh.
But in the video realm.
Oh man. I am.
You said anywhere. All right.
Oh wait. I give up. What? Oh, God. So I also have a collection.
When I said collection, I'm surprised you didn't hear it because I pulled that from the middle
I
of the
heard
pile.
something, but I'm pretty dumb. So he pulled out from my collection of essentially Tiger Electronic handhelds. Remember those games from the 90s? They weren't like, you couldn't afford a Game Boy, so your mom got you a Tiger Electronic handheld of, I don't know, Castlevania or DuckTales or something.
Woo.
They also made these Tiger Electronics for these handhelds for home versions of game shows. And if you peruse through your local Savers store or your local Goodwill or, I don't know, local Time Machine back to 1994, you might find these. And what Jacques pulled out from my collection with about 7 of these.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, of game show electronic handhelds is Name That Tune. And lucky for you, there are no batteries in this because I would have turned it on. But I haven't played it. I see these things and I'm like, they're just odd curiosities to me. I'm like, I like game shows.
How do you not turn that on? Because literally, how dated would the songs be? And it's like, it's got to be 8-bit, right? All the music has to be 8-bit.
Not even. It's one of those like two-tone kind of things. Like, you know, when you get a birthday card that had music playing
Tommy
in it.
two-tone?
Yeah. This is copyright. Does it have a date on it? I don't even. Wait, maybe it does. It's 1997. You know, so I mean, I think the Macarena is on here. I think. I mean, there's got to be a Nirvana song somewhere in here.
Oh, if there's a Nirvana song on that.
Oh, I almost want to. I gotta. Should I pause to get 488?
I would.
Hold on. You want to vamp or you want to pause? Or what do you make this work?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I haven't really told anybody yet, but I always wanted to be a beatboxer. While Joe's doing that, I will talk in depth about his Netflix pick of the week. So 2 weeks ago, he said, Netflix, Lost in Space, pretty okay. And then he went on to describe it, saying Parker Posey, was in it, and she's kind of a bad guy. And I had such issue with this because I went home, I watched it. I watched the whole 10 episodes over like the next few days, but I watched it the way I do, like after 2 or 3 episodes, you kind of get, these 2 people are in this room. They're going to talk about that. I can kind of just fast forward it for, a minute or two. So when he said Parker Posey was kind of like, kind of a bad guy, why did you undersell that? She's a fucking mass murdering douchebag. Did she kill her sister?
No.
She just drugged her and took her place on the ship?
Do you want to just give it away?
Yeah. Yeah, because, you recommended it 3 weeks ago. If they haven't got off their ass and watched it by now, but...
It's 10 episodes long?
Yeah, 10 episodes.
So you did like it?
I watched it.
You're right. It's one of those things. Like, you don't know whether you should like it or not.
Because you kind of see, there's a couple twists in there that you don't see. Like, when you said, like, the robot's kind of different, it's like, whoa. And
he's the best part of the show,
And
right?
for this robot that has no communicative skills. Communicative skills. Or is that
Close
communicative diseases? I always get those confused. Do I need a shot? Get a shot, get rid of it. Yeah, but what a character that robot is.
Yeah, it's not. Is it a robot? It's not really a robot, is it? It's a robot-ish.
And why did that robot kill everybody in the beginning? But let's stay on Parker Posey. Really, it's like...
Well, she's a criminal.
She's more... I mean, what is the difference between sociopath and psychopath?
Sociopath is somebody who can function in society but doesn't have any emotion towards other people.
Then that's what she is.
Yeah.
She's a sociopath.
Yeah. A psychopath is just somebody who's just completely psychotic and has no regard for themselves or others.
The Joker.
Yes. He's
Okay.
psychotic.
Right.
Yeah.
But she is like, what an evil... Hey, I'll see you next Tuesday.
Right. It's like when Jonathan Harris's character of Dr. Smith on the 60s Lost in Space would do these sort of conniving, out for himself actions. It was whimsical. It was like met with some sort of like a joke. There's like a wink, And it was a little bit. It was all kind of harmless and goofy and campy. But this is dark.
I shouldn't give it all away. But when she stabs somebody in the back and then sees that person a couple episodes later, the anxiety that I had watching that, I was like,
Well, did you catch the cameo? Do you know? So, okay. when Dr. Smith, Parker Posey's character, is escaping from the ship that they're on, which is crashing, a doctor comes out in a lab coat.
Oh, who is it? No.
That's Billy Mooney.
Oh, Bill Mooney. Like, our friend Mike, who I want to have on this, like the big writer guy, the music guy.
Yeah.
He and Bill Mooney are really good friends, and he's dragged me 2 or 3 times to see Bill Mooney play tiny clubs in L.A. Like, it's one of those things where Bill Mooney has a band where he is like the biggest celebrity in it, but all the people in his bands were like background characters on like Lost in Space.
Yeah.
Like, he's friends with the people 40 years later.
Right, but then also Parker Posey's character's real name is Jane Harris. The actor who played Dr. Smith is Jonathan Harris. So there's another nod. It's like they're.
But she's.
Oh yeah, she's
like you're waiting for her to die.
Right. Like there's no rooting for her.
No. The only time you're rooting is like, gosh, I hope the person she kills next isn't somebody I really like.
Yeah. Right. And she doesn't really kill anybody directly.
No, except for the guy that she pushed out of the.
She didn't kill him. She let him die. Okay, she kind of killed him. Yeah.
And you're pretty sure her sister's not doing the dirt nap?
She just left on Earth. Like, she just one of the left behind people, And she was just because she was conscious when you could see the final shot of her being tied up. She was conscious.
Oh, okay, all right. But when she was like, when she realized what her sister had just done,
right?
And her sister's like,
yeah,
it's a living.
Anyway, so I got to name that tune up and running.
Let's have it.
Oh boy, here we go.
Oh wait, is this a handheld game? Name that tune country and western hits.
This is just an original bass.
Okay.
Music cartridge.
Okay.
Here we go.
You had different cartridges.
Yeah, like these little slide out cartridges, so you could buy additional cartridges. I actually have these for the Wheel of Fortune.
What carton do you got in there? Is this just
it says music cartridge.
Okay. Hey, Joe, I got an idea. Let's play a little Name That Tune.
Oh, it actually talks. Kinda. Name that tune, melody countdown. And now if I had the manual to this, I could probably figure it out. I'm going to hit song. No, that doesn't work. I'm going to hit select, enter, whatever. Select number of players.
Is this 2?
Right. Is it, Hit song button.
Give me some some hints?
Hit song button. I have no idea.
No idea.
That sounds something like Stairway to Heaven. I don't know.
Password is. Try another one. That's okay.
What's the answer is? How lucky can you get? Like these are like songs from the 1900s. So like
by who?
Right. I think by
Joe Smo and the Nobodies.
Hit the song button. Here we go. That's me. It's like a BlackBerry sound. I want to say "Stand" by REM.
I'm ruling out anything from the Eminem catalog.
All right, so that's kind of the answer is "Last Tango in Paris." I mean, these aren't songs anymore.
Seriously, yeah.
I think after 100 years, they don't qualify as songs anymore. One more. I gotta try one more. Let's see what this sounds like. What's that? Shazam's like, what the fuck? I don't know. What is it? The answer is time is up. Sing a song. I mean, these aren't songs.
No,
man.
these aren't. Just what's worse? Did I made everybody on hold so you could get batteries and charge that thing up, or that I made you go and get batteries to charge them? Okay, if you didn't own this, what would you be willing to shell out for it?
$2, $7.99.
Yeah,
outrageous.
So
that's the asking price.
That's the asking price. Let's see, any bids so far?
Any sold items?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, seriously, look on the solar. Are you kidding me? Yeah.
I don't know how to.
Oh yeah, no, this is the website. I don't know how to do it on there, but I have the app. But anyway, that was a waste of time.
So that was your Netflix pick of the week. I just reviewed.
No,
Jeff.
that was your
That was reviewing your. So I actually listened to when you make these suggestions.
Good, because here I have another one.
Let's have it.
Cobra Kai.
Oh, I can't wait. Can't wait. I haven't seen it yet, but I cannot wait.
10 episodes. It's on YouTube Red.
Full episodes?
Yes.
Like half hour?
Yes, they're all 10 half hours. So it's 5 hours of your life. I know, precious, but...
Or Infinity Wars once and a half.
Right. If you haven't heard of Cobra Kai by now, shame on you.
Yeah, don't stop listening.
Yeah.
Just delete us from your...
So this is 34 years after the original Karate Kid movie. It's Ralph Macchio, or Daniel-san. And there's William Zabka, who plays Johnny Lawrence, who's the bad guy.
What was it about you? Okay, see, so
he was the...
you weren't How I Met Your Mother guy.
I know, Barney had that theory.
Barney, with everything, why the stormtroopers were really the victims and the good guys, and why Johnny from Cobra Kai was really the hero here and stuff like that.
They get into that. They actually show, like, there's a retelling of that matchup from Johnny's perspective. And it's great. This show is fantastic. It was renewed for a second season. It's on YouTube Red, which is a paid service for YouTube. So,
and they got there was a lot of original people in it, right?
Right. There's a lot of original people that came back. And there's some new characters. You know, Daniel has a daughter. Johnny Lawrence has a son that he is estranged from, but makes his way into this world. It's fantastic. It's wonderful how they've done it. It has the new crop of kids that, there's a kid that lives across the street or in the same apartment complex as Johnny. Johnny lives in a rundown, beat-up apartment complex in, I think it's Reseda or something like that. Miguel is the teenager that lives near him. And the first thing out of his mouth is, "Hey, I'm Miguel, I'm your next-door neighbor." Oh, great, more immigrants. Like, right off the bat, you're like, okay, this guy he's stuck in the 80s. He doesn't give a fuck. He's like a handyman, kind of like Mr. Miyagi was, but like in nowhere near like content with his life. Like he's like just like a beat up, chewed up guy. Yeah, like not winning the tournament was like the end of his life. And it's funny how this show and this universe and this little small group of people hang their existence on this karate tournament from 1984 and how it's been going on for 30 more years because they have another tournament later on in the series. I'm not spoiling too much. I want to tease you into this because it's really good how they incorporate the sort of anti-bullying climate that we're in now and how Johnny Lawrence approaches that with Cobra Kai and his attitude towards how you should handle bullies. It's funny, it's self-aware.
Is it a comedy?
It's it's a comedy. It's written by the same guys who did Harold and Kumar. They were like, obviously huge fans, and they treated this with such care and affection. And it's so apparent how well-crafted this story was. The first 2 episodes you can watch for free. The rest of them, you can have to either get the free trial, which I have, for a month, and then otherwise you have to pay like $13 a month, which is a little steep for YouTube Red because essentially what you're getting with YouTube Red, you get this original programming, but Cobra Kai is the like only watchable original programming for people over 25. Like everything else is like, such and such high school, like they have like video game high school kind of series or, something like that would be rejected from the CW,
Right.
But, and then you also get ad-free YouTube, which is okay, but I'm not paying $13 a month for it. So yes, I will be canceling my free trial. And then when season 2 comes out, I'll be renewing my free trial or paying for the 1 month. It's worth it for 1 month.
Or getting a trial under your wife's name.
Exactly right. Carnival Personnel will be getting its own YouTube Red free trial for a month. It's not just like a comedy. It's not goofy. It doesn't like parody. It's like so rides the line between parody and seriousness, and there are tender moments, there are anxious moments, which I'm sure you'll appreciate.
I love them.
There are great sports moments. There's good like fucking karate in this. That's just hands down. There's good.
I mean, can those guys is it stunt doubles or can
what's great about I think there are some stunt doubles, but like. There are times where you actually see them moving, and like interacting and practicing karate. Daniel LaRusso, by the way, is now like a kind of like a Herb Chambers guy. He's like Herb Chambers, for those of you who don't live in the Mass area, is an auto dealer magnate. So he's like one of those guys. He owns his LaRusso Autos, which kind of makes sense because in the original movie he was into all the collectible cars that Mr. Miyagi had. So it just sort of like makes sense that he would follow that as sort of his thing. But like he still uses his notoriety from the karate tournament in his advertisements. And, like you see him like, this Subaru is what? We're not going to do the 20,000. Hiya! And he like cuts the Chiron price in half,
Sold. Okay.
Yeah, it's
done.
fucking great. Like,
Done.
why aren't you watching this now?
Is Parker Posey killing people in this?
No.
Okay, then I'm more likely to enjoy it. I want to I didn't not like Lost in Space because there was some elements like the family dynamic were great, but the ink side, it was too much.
But did you agree with me that maybe the importance of family is a little too heavy-handed in Lost in Space? Like, we get it. You're a family and you got to stick together.
And you're a family of geniuses because you got like an 18-year-old doctor daughter and your 12-year-old son.
Oh, by the way, how much do you want to punch the daughter in them? Not the adopted daughter, but the
actual daughter. Yeah.
Like you just want to punch her right in the face
every chance you get.
Yeah, like she's just so annoying. Like she's so douchey.
The kid isn't that great either.
Yeah, I know.
He's a little
right, but
annoying.
he's kind of a whiny little whatever. I don't know. Anyways,
so, my pick of the week is Archer's back. And it's really interesting. I love Archer. It's one of my favorite shows. I'm one of the few people, there's probably 100 people out there, plus the people who worked on the show, who know that Archer was like, I don't know the right way to say it. There was an Adult Swim show where it was completely different, where there's a why am I blanking on the name? But an alien from outer space, not an alien from
Mexico,
Guadalajara, it called Killface, and he had like a Skeletor kind of face and stuff like that, and he was here to like take over Earth and stuff. All the people on Archer were in that, but in different roles, with different names, completely different characters. So like the Archer character was kind of I'm not going to get into the whole thing. I'm killing me. Frisky Dingo. Okay. It's called Frisky Dingo. You look it up. Yeah. It lasted 2 seasons. It was awesome. I mean, it was beyond awesome. It was complete, like the height of Adult Swim. This was on like after
2020 kind of.
Right. It was between like C-Lab would go on, then Frisky Dingo, and then like the Venture Brothers. It was just awesome. But 2 years later, all these characters resurfaced in Archer. And so now Archer ran its course. The show really ran its course. So they started this season, all the same characters, but a completely reimagined show. Like if Archer was, a doctor show, if it was like Chicago Hope. And now all of a sudden it is the Golden Girls. Like the same people, but having some of them in the same relationship, like kind of roles and stuff like that. But it's not like a continuation. It's not like they went off and
it's an alternate universe.
Right. And it is awesome. It's a completely different show, but these characters are all still completely
same dynamics.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, some same, some different dynamics.
Okay.
It takes place on like it's kind of like a Casablanca island. It's like an island that's like owned by like the French, but it's not like a French island. And Archer is a pilot that flies tourists around and stuff like that. But
is it a period piece? Or is it modern?
No, I can't really tell.
Okay,
I can't really tell.
Those are the best ones.
And I guess like they used to do that. I don't know if it was like the Black Adder. Like,
Black Adder. Yeah.
Right. Like they would do that.
Yes.
Same 12 people.
I was trying to think of like an example and I was rattling my brain.
Same 12 people are doing this show this year. The whole cast is coming back next year. Completely different story.
Right. But it's like with Black Adder, it was like a lineage of this awful group of people.
Right.
Throughout the ages. Yeah. So this is Archer's version of that. Okay.
So that is my pick.
Okay. I have to catch up on 10 seasons of Archer?
Yeah, it's all in.
How did we not include Archer in our Archers episode?
I think we did mention it.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure we did.
We had Archers of Loaf in there.
Archers of Loaf in there. Yep.
Do we have Archer Bunker?
So here's the best. Well played, sir. So Archer was one of my favorite shows. Season 6 or 7, they accidentally take over a pirate island, like real pirates, like Somali pirates, and they have this whole fortress. And it took Archer a while to realize that pirates weren't like Captain Jack Sparrow, and it was a real thing. So he takes over the island and he puts together an intramural lacrosse team. And I swear to God, if Archer wasn't one of my favorite shows, the name of his lacrosse team was Archers of Loaf.
Oh.
And because of that and that alone, I'm like, okay, how many people know? Like, Archers of Loaf, one of my favorite bands. I think me, John Hunt, and 7 other people brought their first. No, I'm sorry. I'm remiss. Let me restate. I think John and I are 7 of the people who stole their Archers of Loaf album from the college radio station they were working in 92.
Back in those days, you could steal albums physically.
Physically steal them.
Now
you
they
had to physically steal
Yeah,
them.
right. Now kids do it all the time electronically.
But that was it. And it's funny that you mentioned Archie. Like this Archie Bunker. This week, I don't know what made me. I couldn't get a Jeffersons episode out of my head. I just couldn't get this. And I text
Isn't that
Joe,
every day?
It pretty much. Well, the funny thing is, with the Mass Pirates, we
get it. You work around a lot of black guys.
we do a seat upgrade, which is kind of ridiculous because it's like so few people showed up for the last game. Sit wherever the fuck you want. But we have a sponsor where we take somebody from like the 200 seats but we do like it's played in a hockey rink with a football field on it.
Let me guess.
And they put recliners in the bench, so you get to move down there. Right, go ahead.
I'm sure when you upgrade these people, you play.
Moving on up.
Moving on up.
To the east side.
Moving on up.
To a deluxe apartment.
In the sky. No, we have to finish the song.
Okay.
Moving on up. Moving on up. To the east side. Moving on up. We finally got a piece of the pie. Fish don't fry in the kitchen. Bees don't burn on the grill. Took a whole lot of trying just to get up that hill. Now we're up in the big leagues, getting our turn at bat. As long as we live, it's you and me, baby, ain't nothing wrong with that. Moving on up, moving on up.
And if anybody thinks we had to Google the lyrics to that, you've never spent more than 3 minutes with Joe and I.
Google consults us on the lyrics.
Well, it's funny because management and her friend Mike went to the first game and they're like, "Oh, that was so typical. Like, you guys got to come something else with that." I'm like, "Great." She's like, "Oh, it's so dated." I'm like, first of all, you saw everybody there loved that. Second of all, there is not a better piece of music for it.
No.
So we do it. So yes, I think of the Jeffersons more than most people probably should. I did not work with him. My buddy Scott was on a show with him, and I was with Sherman Helmsley 2 or 3 days a week for about 16 months. I have more Sherman Helmsley stories than anybody should. And I said to Joe, it's like, we're really current. We should do a Jefferson sideshow soon.
We should just do a Sherman Hemsley.
We really should,
Right.
But no, that's such a groundbreaking show. But it was funny because I wrote it on the list, but I didn't think we were going to talk about. But then when you mentioned Archie Bunker,
oh yes,
and it's like, but that was just in the story of how it spun off from this and the things that spun off. It's just fantastic.
Just future fodder for a future sideshow, and I don't know if you want to plug any other sideshow.
We're coming up on our year anniversary, as I lovingly look into Joe's eyes. And for anybody who's listening, maybe Floor doesn't know where Carnival Personnel comes from, like the name of the show. But when Joe and I when Joe and I were thinking about names for the show, I had some good ones. I maybe I can find the list. I pitched some. Jim had a couple. Joe had a bunch. And then when
Jacques is Awesome is not a name of a podcast.
It is a name of a podcast. My mom still thinks we should rebrand as that. But when Joe said Carnival Personnel, I'm like, marry me.
And I did.
So we will soon be doing The Jerk.
And I was so bummed when Emmett Walsh, who plays the guy who's chasing down Navin Johnson, a.k.a. Steve Martin, in The Jerk. He's trying to shoot Navin Johnson. The guy who plays him appeared on a podcast that we so love, the Gilbert Gottfried Amazing Colossal podcast recently. They did not reference him. They referenced his role, like they showcased it, but they didn't reference the line, Hey, you're not Carnival Personnel.
You not because
Hey, he's not Carnival Personnel.
You can't go. He was okay with shooting a guy, but not okay going through an open fence that said Carnival Personnel.
Carnival Personnel only. Damn. He hates these cans. Yeah.
These cans are defective,
right? We don't have a defective can. We have defective poison out there.
my favorite part of and we'll save it for the podcast, which this is a podcast, we'll save it for the other podcast, is I'm a proud owner. No, I think I gave it to you. Are you the proud owner of the 26th anniversary director's cut?
I think so. I think it's somewhere.
Because they missed their release date. So when they published it, they literally, they cross out in red the 25th and write over it.
I was disappointed in the special features, but
There was none. Yeah, there were
a couple. We'll save that for the other sideshow.
Do you have a parenting tip of the week?
Sadly, I do not, because again, I don't remember where my children are.
It's 11 o'clock. Do you know where your children are?
It's 2018. Do you get that reference?
I'm going to give my parenting tip of the week, and then I'm going to give a shout out to my little bastards. Parenting tip of the week. Bought tickets, because of management's work schedule, we couldn't see it opening night or even opening weekend, which that was tough. And like I said on our podcast beforehand, I'm not sure if that's grounds for divorce that I had to wait. The day the other 19 movies came out leading up to this, 19 fucking movies leading up to this, I saw within the first weekend. Don't see this. So we rearranged some things, and now it's past the second weekend, and it's this past Monday. Move some pieces around the board. It's like, okay, I can do it. She can do it. We get the boys. I get the 4 tickets. A disagreement over which state has the better zip codes, North Dakota or South Dakota, came up. One of these really crucial line in the sands.
It's tomato, not tomato.
That's it. That's it. I'm not going. Me and the boys are. So my parenting tip of the week is do not let strife between you and a significant other get in the way of you being a good parent, because the boys also, they're trained to, as soon as the TV comes on and the commercial comes on for a movie we're going to see, boom, you shut it off, man. You turn the iPad off. You hold your ears and you hum the Battle Hymn Republic or something. You do what you got to do to not have anything spoil this, so we did. We didn't miss it. So parenting tip of the week, don't let your domestic, disturbances cause your children for seeing life-altering movies in a timely manner.
That's a good parenting tip. I probably should have extrapolated that to just a life tip and gone on my own. No. Just because my significant other and my children can't go see the movie doesn't mean that I can't on my own.
But now, this is where I'm going to give credit where credit's due. The boys and I saw it, and there's some holy shit moments like I talked about. They didn't say a word. Like, she finally got to see it a couple days ago. Oh. And it's like, it was a good 3-4 day window between Mama getting to see it. And there was no hints. There was no, oh, you're going to be really sad if X happens. Oh, man, you can't believe when Y happens. There was no hints. There was no even quiet whispers before. And as soon as she came home, having seen it, they're like, can you believe how awesome this was? But you have you got a year before the next one comes out. And I would really like to say, fuck you, Russo brothers and Marvel. There's like 2 movies or 3 movies between the two.
Well, we have Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Ant-Man and the Wasp. There's another one that if you haven't heard of, I'm not even going to tell you the name of.
I think we went through the rundown of future movies, but I'm not going to.
But I think these take place. They're being released after Infinity Wars, but take place before Infinity Wars.
I see.
Type
right.
thing. So, and I think one of them might even honestly takes place 40 years ago or something like that.
We got a heavy month ahead of us. We got Deadpool 2.
Stop. Did you see the new Deadpool thing? With I almost said Odell Beckham. Beckham, the soccer player.
Oh, David Beckham.
David Beckham?
No.
What do you know about David Beckham?
He's handsome.
And?
He's a great soccer player. And
one more thing.
And he's married to a Spice Girl.
One more thing. Have you ever heard him talk?
Oh, right.
So nobody heard him talk for like a decade, and management loved him. I know a couple other women who were like literally sploosh anytime, and then they heard him talk, and he has that thick Cockney accent, and I remember
like Jason Statham,
and I'm
right
quoting verbatim. No, but a high squeaky voice.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't fit. And I remember management saying upon hearing him the first time, why do the pretty ones talk? You know? And so Deadpool has a David Beckham thing about his voice with David Beckham, and it is the most, and you know, it came out on Twitter, and I just, you know, I retweeted, and I left a comment, marry me.
Yeah.
you know,
right.
you know, so yeah, we got
You are
Solo.
such a whore.
You know, and always for dudes. You know? But not in a gay way.
No.
I just want to have sex with them.
Anyway, and then also we have Solo to look forward to.
So, you know.
Oh, by the way, have you seen the Lando sketch that Donald Glover did on Saturday Night Live?
I did. I'm not a fan of him, and I loved him. I loved him on Community. Loved him. Loved him.
Isn't he supposed to be great at everything?
Well, he'll tell you. Yeah. You know, he cross trains. You know how he can tell?
Yeah.
He read Player One before he saw the movie. You know how I know? And it's like when he was on Community, he was great. And then I saw tried to get through his stand up on his Netflix special.
Yeah.
And you know how they do those pre-skits now, and it was him driving to it saying it was like I equate it to the Michael Jordan entering the Hall of Fame speech, where he just told you how much better he was than everybody, and how everybody who never put him on a team is a piece of shit who should die alone in a ditch.
Uh-huh.
And then it's like when he was on Saturday Night Live and he was a musical guest, I'm like, hey, put a shirt on. You know? But no, I'm looking forward to it. You know,
But you didn't see the Lando sketch.
I didn't.
Okay, it's pretty cute. It's all right. I mean, it's funny. It's a funny premise. You should watch it.
I saw, so when I went to see Infinity Wars, Solo was one of the previews that came out. But I covered my ears, I looked down, and I was humming. And unfortunately, I heard one line. Yeah, about how old he is.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Okay,
I don't remember that.
so I mean, it looks. And who's the bad guy in it, or who's the
Well, Woody Harrelson.
Woody
is
Harrelson?
in there,
Yeah. So I mean, look, I'm gonna see it.
Right.
Look, you and I watched the holiday special recently.
Right.
It's Star Wars. I'm going to watch it. And even if I don't like it, I'm still going to love it because it's Star Wars.
Yep.
I haven't seen a bad Batman movie yet.
Right. You're one of
I saw a few really bad Batman movies, but what
did you think?
But I own them. You know,
Batman Ninja.
I know, but I'm
Haven't
talking
watched it
like
yet? Like
the Chris O'Donnell.
The
The
Batman.
Schumacher.
Yeah.
You know, I hated the fact that the boys loved it.
Batman
Because
Forever.
you know, because they saw it
Batman
like 3 years ago, so they're like 3 and 6, and they see it, and it's colorful, and the Joker, and it's Jim Carrey being Jim Carrey as the Joker, the Riddler, and stuff like that. It was great, you know, for that. You know, it sucks to say. Look, I love Tommy Lee Jones. I love, you know, I love Clooney. You know, I love, you know,
You love Lamp.
all these people. Wow, I love Batman, but really?
I know it somehow didn't work.
Yeah. But anyways, I am looking. So you got Solo, you got Deadpool, and there's another.
I think Avengers was the other big May thing. You know, no, I mean I have a busy month. I mean, I haven't seen Avengers yet, so I have to catch up. I have to see Black Panther. I have to see my kids. I think eventually.
No, maybe. But do they have to see you?
No.
Okay.
And then of course we have Memorial Day. We have our 1 year anniversary. Oh, May.
Not happy anniversary.
Dun, 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 dun,
Anything but happy
dun,
anniversary.
dun, dun,
Not
dun,
happy
dun,
anniversary.
dun, dun.
So I think that wraps up for me, unless you got anything else.
Oh, I do. Don't forget,